Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hey everyone, welcome back in. It is Daily Wolves and it's me, Chris, as always, and with me is Will. Hey Will.
Hello.
Hey. And we are back from our own international break. We informed you in the last episode, international breaks is a chance for us to get some respite and recharge and re-energize. Obviously, we have our own international duties to worry about, clearly, because we are so talented.
Of course.
Now we are back to get into the flow as regular daily episodes. Hopefully, is the plan to continue as we build up into the next league fixture, which of course is this coming weekend away to Newcastle. But first off, Will, how
at home
at
to
home?
Newcastle.
Sorry, I don't know why
Yes.
I said away. At home. Thank you for correcting me, Will. Clearly, I'm recovering from the international break.
Look, you were just getting back into the swing of things. It's okay.
I am. But how have you been over this break period, Will? Did you score any goals? Did you gain another cap?
Unfortunately, the answer to both of those is no. I've spent the week actually developing my tennis skills.
Oh, nice.
Whilst we've not been recording, so my body is in pieces, but my mind is raring to go back on the Daily Wolves grind.
It's not a grind, Will. It's a passion. It's a joy.
Well, yeah, as a good friend of mine once said, a man's graft is a man's craft.
Oh,
so
okay.
Don't know what that means.
Clearly, it wasn't me.
But I'm all for it.
Okay, I am. Fine. Thank you for asking. And given that we're on a Wolves podcast, but I am happy because the NFL has returned. So as a side passion, that's a love of mine. So NFL Sunday got me through the international break. So praise be. But that's not why we're here. We are here to discuss Wolves as ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose let's go through the motions. There's some stuff, I think, overall for this show, we're going to look ahead to September as we're now fully into September. We're going to be looking ahead to the run of fixtures. But before we get into that, we should summarize a couple of things, one of which is just international stuff in general.
Yeah.
You picked up a note, I believe, regarding potential injuries.
So it was reported earlier during last week that both Ait Nouri and Lamina withdrew from their respective international camps due to injuries. However, what the injuries actually are and the severity of them is still yet to be confirmed. I've not seen any more on it, which I'd like to think is a good thing. If it was something rather severe, we would know of it. We'd know what it was and how long it would potentially keep those players out for and so on and so forth. So, it's a classic one of those. Hopefully it's just a precaution, which is quite typical during the international breaks. You see it all the time. And the pair returned to Wolverhampton last week to sort of nurse themselves back to health. And since there's nothing more on it, you'd like to think that they'll be okay for this weekend. Yeah,
hopefully there's no reports since then, and they are just friendlies, so I can't imagine they wanted to push themselves. In fact, most of them were friendlies, I believe. Someone's going to correct me on that, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. But hey, it's not Wolves, so it doesn't matter to me.
And look, I'm not correcting you because I don't know either, so I'll go down with you. That's fine.
No problem. Thanks. During the Brazil game, I thought of note was that obviously there's a lot of hype around Andre. We've only seen a few minutes of him in a Wolves shirt on his debut, but I was I thought he made a good show of himself in the brief cameo we got. But he did feature heavily in Brazil. He was in the starting lineup for Brazil's game over. They won 1-0 against Ecuador. He played 85 minutes of that, and ironically was subbed off and replaced by João Gomes. So it shows you very much that they are like a like for like position, spot. So I thought that was very intriguing. But he played well. I watched some of that just to, again, because now obviously we're invested in seeing what this new talent is like.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
I'm looking forward to see how that midfield works when we, get going and get into the flow of things. If it's going to be a straight three of those two and Lamina, how is Doyle going to fit in? who's going to be the unlucky one to miss out on selection, or is it still just going to be a two in midfield? I think it's going to be really interesting to see what O'Neill does with them, because he is spoiled for choice, which is a rarity, I feel, in our squad. So it's quite nice.
Yeah, he is, and obviously Jose Sarr has not vacated; he's still with us. So it's going to be interesting to see how, as we mentioned last episode, how the goalkeeper situation plays out. Is he going to be on the bench this weekend? Is Sam Johnston going to? I firmly believe that Sam Johnston will be the starter. I think that's set in stone. Yeah. That's pretty much set in stone. But how Jose Sarr handles the next few weeks and months is going to be the interesting one, and whether he is number 2 or not. Does Bentley fall down the pecking order? I mean, and Tom King, wow, like that's. I wish I had his job, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to be doing more co-commentary for the Wolves TV, surely, because he's appeared on that a few times.
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, like I said, give us a pair of goalkeeper gloves and I'll go down to Compton every weekday.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice living if you can get it, to be fourth choice as it now is, and just take part in training, hang out with your mates, not have to sit on the bench at the weekend, and just enjoy the show. I mean, great.
Yeah.
Gosh, what a life! What a life. The women, though, have been firmly in competition during the international break. The most recently, of course, this weekend they got back to winning ways, having lost the week before. They got back to winning ways and beat Burnley 1-0 away with a goal from Amber Hughes. A brilliant one-handed save from our keeper in the dying moments as well to keep it 1-0. They go fourth in the table on 9 points. Forest, to put that into perspective, are top on 12. So the next 3 or 4 teams are all on 9. Forest are top on 12, so only one game difference in it. So exciting times. Good to see the girls back to get back to winning ways, and I really want this to be the year that we break out of that division.
Yeah, I think it would be nice for us to have something to cheer about this year, because I can't see, again, I don't want to just be pessimistic all of a sudden, Chris, but I can't see the men having the most exciting of seasons ahead.
No,
maybe that's just me.
What was interesting as well, and I don't know if anyone else picked up on this, but that's not invested in the women's team as much, but Beth Merrick was actually one of the deadline day signings, ironically, for Wolves. And she played, obviously, with us the last season or two, and actually announced that she was leaving the club early in the summer. And then they did like a kind of funny deadline day post on the Wolves Twitter saying, like, look at our latest signing, and it was like a silhouette of her with the sun shining past her face, so you couldn't fully see, and everyone was like, is that Beth Merrick coming back? And sure enough, she had made a decision to return, because she realized that her decision to quit was not, like, she regretted it the moment she said it. So she came back. So I was chuffed with that, because she's fantastic.
Well, look, you would regret it, wouldn't you? Let's be honest. Like, as we just said, who wouldn't want to be training in the Wolves team each day and playing on the weekends? It'd be the dream, wouldn't it?
It is the dream. It is the dream. The other dream, of course, is to remind everyone about this fantastic venture that we have been kicking off, and that this podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football and fantasy football, a unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. Global Sports Podcast Network, every club, every day.
Every day.
And that's the dream you're living, Will.
It is. It is.
So I was thinking, I had notes here and they've all gone blanking from my screen. There we go. So I was thinking, well, let's look ahead. We're in September now. We've got a point on the board.
We are.
We've got 1 point. We're off the bottom of the table. That's the most woohoo, living that dream. So looking ahead to the month, obviously we've got Newcastle at home, as you mentioned, this weekend. I'll get it correct this time. And then on the 21st of September, we are at Villa Park, away to, obviously, Aston Villa. And then we have Liverpool at home on the 28th of September. So that is our September run-in. I suppose first things first, let's look ahead at this weekend. So we'll do a proper, don't go too deep because we'll do a proper thing on, but how are you feeling overall about this coming weekend?
I still like the other fixtures we've played this season. I feel quite useless when I'm asked for my predictions because...
You're on a podcast, Will. Come on, step it up.
I know, yeah, but I'm so sort of... I just don't know. It depends so much on the formation and the players that are selected that, any slight tweak could completely alter, the game. We saw that with Dawson coming in to defend and how much more solid we look. So, but I think out of the 3 games that you mentioned, it's certainly the one that I'm the most confident for.
Yeah, I think, I mean, at home, I know we lost so heavily to Chelsea, but that was just such a crazy game and really could have gone either way, I think, despite that flurry of goals. And I'm always going to give us a glimmer of hope and bank us more at home. I mean, I think we do, it's the home, it's the fortress. But yeah, I think you're right. Compared to Villa and Liverpool, arguably a little bit more competitive in that one. But even so, Newcastle can be, on their day, can be ridiculously strong. Overall, though, Will, let's think about the month as a whole. So those are the 3 games we've got this September. Newcastle, Villa, Liverpool. Points-wise, how many points do you think... I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yeah.
How many points do you think we're going to take from September?
4. I'll tell you why. I think we'll beat Newcastle at home. Purely because of the home advantage, and they're probably the sort of, again, I use this in inverted commas, they're the easiest opponent we'll face at this current time out of those 3. I think we'll draw to Villa away, and I'll give my reasoning for that in a minute. And I think we'll lose to Liverpool just because of the sheer quality they still possess. But when it comes to playing the Villa, now, Chris, as you know, I'm born and bred in Birmingham, surrounded by Villa fans, and a couple of Blue Noses as well, but surrounded by Villa fans. And I was speaking to a couple of my friends who, unfortunately for them, do fall under that category. And they're never confident about playing us. They always say that we always seem to get a result against them. We just appear to be one of those teams that they can't beat. And we were thinking about it. I said, no, surely you've got a few wins against us. Let's think about it. They beat us last season when we had Chiromi up front. And I can't remember who else was playing where. But, with all respect, hardly our strongest 11 that we've ever had because of the amount of injuries and so on. And before then, the only one that my friends and I could remember was the year that we won the championship. We lost 4-1 away to Villa, which I was at, and I'm going to make a sneaky confession. I was sat in the Villa end. I was sat in the home end, and I just remember watching the 4th goal sort of roll in past Ruddy. And for all the others, I've been standing up and, just trying to blend in. But for that one, I just looked at my mate and he just gave me a sort of a subtle nod and we just left. We just walked out. Obviously, he was buzzing. But apart from that, yeah, we always seem to do okay. We always seem to, at least get a point. So that's the way I see it unfolding anyway.
Yeah, I can see that. I think, obviously, I know times have changed, but it's still a big derby. I think the Villa game, so that adds always a little bit of fire to it as well. And so anything can happen on those days. And we've obviously seen the limbs, for example, when there was Neves's free kick trickled in because it went off the wall in the dying moments of that away win a couple of seasons ago.
But again, Chris, sorry. You've mentioned him again.
I can't help it. He's integral to our recent history.
This. I'm just going to be sad for the remainder of the episode now.
You're going to have to work through this. We need to get you counselling. We need to get your counselling.
I'm trying.
But no, I can see that. I think 4 points is a fair goal. I think you're right. I mean, saying that, I'll say, it's tricky.
Are you going to go higher than 4?
No, I was thinking about how to lay it out. I can see us getting 4, but I was thinking, as much as I don't want it to. In fact,
I can see where you're going with this.
In fact, no, just because I want to beat Villa, because I also have I have some relatives that also support the Villa, and I don't want to have to listen to them go on at me. So I'm going to say 3 points against Villa away.
Good.
And then I'm going to say a point at home to Liverpool, because I feel like we're a team that always does well against the top few. And I feel like as much as we shouldn't, everyone seems to raise their game, and they're the type of team that come at you so much, they don't necessarily worry about what you're going to do.
The only reason I think that makes me disagree with that would be the fact, now I stressed before Forest away, how you can't lose your first 3 games. It's it just can't happen.
Which we did.
Exactly. But so now the next thing Gary O'Neill will be thinking is, we need a win with the same urgency that we needed to not lose to Forest. We now need a win to kick on and progress with the season. And I think if we get that win earlier on against Newcastle, it's sort of, if I was to look at it sort of cynically, it buys the team a bit more time and gives them a little bit more credit in the bank to still get to grips with the system and perhaps not pick up as many points, in the following weeks. You catch my drift there? That's the only thing that makes me think that's how it's going to play out.
I think you're totally right. And don't get me wrong, I want 3 points at home against Newcastle, and I want us to win. In an ideal world, I want us to win all 3 of them.
Yes, but yes. I can't believe neither of us said 9 points.
Yeah, I know, strange that. But but I think 4 is a realistic goal from those 3 games, and it's purely because of the fact that I don't want to listen to the Villa fans that I know go on at me, that I want 3 points there. I'll take a point then either against Newcastle or Liverpool, but I just also think it's kind of fun to take a point off Liverpool because
that's always Liverpool. Good, isn't it?
So, I don't know. I'm just playing a little bit of devil's advocate, and the fact that I do have relatives that are Villa fans.
Look, well, I think that's what plays into my hands, is any of the Villa fans who I do sort of coerce with and mix in with in society are fortunately friends of mine.
It's the fact that they're out in society is scary.
I know, but my point is, it buys me a bit of credit, I think. So I won't get it too badly.
You can't wait till we have a crossover with the Villa team, because we're already ripping them a little bit.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So it's going to be it's put it this way. I think the simple point is it's clearly going to be a tough month. If we get 4, if we can get at least 4 from this month, I'll be happy looking at that fixture list, because that is a tough lineup.
Yeah,
that's without doubt. I mean, we knew going into the season it was going to be tough, but just looking at September, I'm staring at it now and I'm looking at those 3 games and I'm thinking that's not ideal.
Yeah, the only thing that I don't like is that then we'll be 6 games in, is it? On just the 5 points. There'll be teams worse off than us, but it's still not excellent.
It's not excellent, but we knew, we knew this was going to be the case. We have the toughest running. The Premier League computers know that we complained against VAR. They're like, let's give them the toughest start to the season possible. We know it's all on purpose. I mean, not really, but we do. Not really, but we do. It's just blatant. It's blatant. And so, we've all got so many stories to tell about VAR, Will, and why it really has been the annoyance of Wolves over the past couple of seasons, why we voted against it, why we're the only Premier League club to vote against it, and why that means that none of the other managers can moan this season if they get a decision go against them, because they all voted for it.
19-1.
Exactly. So the only manager this season and club that is allowed to moan about it is Gary O'Neill and Wolves. Let's just put that on the table. If any other fan or any other, sorry, not the fans, because the fans didn't vote, but the managers, players and club, if they moan and they come on their crossover episodes with us and they moan about a VAR decision, they voted for it.
Yeah. Do you remember the days of football before it?
I do, and we've had it in the cup where the celebrations are right away. And I've gone a little bit off of the tangent of where I was going a second ago.
No, I know, yeah, but wasn't it just better times? Better times.
We had mistakes, human error will always be there.
Yeah,
but it's just the fact that everything is so. It's not even the fact that it's clinical, because clinical is fine. It is if it's a quick decision and you can understand it. It's the fact that the human error is still interfering with the technical side of it, and the fact that the decisions being made around how the technology is used. And this is potentially another Wednesday episode we can go into, just a whole VAR discussion, because of the fact that,
Well, I don't know, because there's only certain languages not allowed in the Global Sports Podcast Network, and I would only echo the South Bank's summarization of what we should do with the system.
But as with everything, the problem is the inconsistency and the way it's used and the way it's overseen. There's fair enough. We've seen some improvements this season in that they haven't interfered quite as much so far in some games, but we've still seen mistakes and we've still seen frustration.
Just switch the thing off.
Yeah, just switch it off until you can use your toys properly. Put the toys away. Just put the toys away. And I tell my kids, if you're gonna keep damaging it or hurting people with it or using it in a way that's going to get it broken or you're going to cause a problem, whatever it is, then I will put it away safely until you can learn to use it responsibly. That's what's going to happen. So anyway, the point was, we've obviously got lots of stories to tell about this. But if you have a story to tell that the world needs to hear, have you struggled with reaching new audiences who are engaged with your story? It might be time for you to start a podcast where you can wax lyrical about VAR. Let me tell you about a platform we use here at Global Sports Podcast Network. Zencastr makes it easy to start a high-quality podcast built for growth from day one, with 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes ums, ahs, you knows, and 22 other speech patterns. Zencastr makes it super easy to start a podcast that sounds great. Ready to tell your story? Check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr. And see, I can see you nodding, Will. Your next podcast is going to be all about VAR. I can see it. Unofficial, so you can rant as much as you want.
That it would have to be unofficial, because there would indeed be a lot of ranting involved.
Yeah. Now, the other fixture this September is in the League Cup. We have the delightful joy of playing Brighton and Hove Albion away. I can see you puffing your cheeks. I can see the look of the resignation. We should mention it because we're speaking about September as a whole as we start this new week. So, I mean, I think we were all, and everyone out there was a bit exasperated when that was the name out of the hat. They've got this new seeding system this season in the way they're drawing the League Cup. I've already seen frustrations about that. It's not really seeming to make much sense. Obviously, it's all about TV money and then wanting to make sure the big teams are doing their thing. It doesn't seem fair, and it's losing the prospect of how the cup should be.
In fact, sorry, Chris, I don't want to go off on a tangent. But
go on a tangent, Will.
Well, we've just spoken about, think of this, think if, I told you this sort of 10 years ago, but, when you were growing up watching football.
In the Stone Age,
and then we're now, fast forward, we're now talking about computers making referee decisions and seeding teams in the League Cup. Yeah. What's happening?
Yeah, it's because if I remember rightly, so the English sides taking part in the Champions League and the Europa League, are all seeded in the new draw system. and so it just seems it's just favoring the big teams. And
no, they would never do that.
No, of course not. But it just seems really harsh. It just
Mm.
seems really harsh, and I think it is. Again, it's destroying that. I think the League Cup, arguably, already is. It's not what it was. A lot of people don't value it. We see a lot of teams over the years have just put
Yeah, no.
all subs out. I mean, like, was it Liverpool the one year is literally all under 20s or something? It's crazy almost how it's almost offensive to some teams that they have to take part in it. And the
Yeah.
disregard being shown for it is so harsh. And I get that there's a lot of fixtures, but I think this is actually just a step backwards. I think it's just going to make it worse.
Yeah, I think it's killing it if it wasn't already down on the floor. But anyway, having said that, we're off to Brighton.
We're off to Brighton.
Yeah.
So, thoughts? You've expressed some of it to me personally, if in your face, but to the people out there.
Yeah, I think we should have a real good go at it. We've spoken about teams putting out subs and this, that, and the other, but Brighton are a half decent team. And that's putting it lightly, especially compared to Burnley, who we beat the other week. I'd like to see us go with still quite a lot of strength, because I think we should be having a right good go at the Cups.
Yeah.
Why not?
I think we should.
Why not? So it'd be nice to see us go down there all guns blazing. I'm not saying that we will, but especially if we perhaps haven't picked up the points that we were sort of predicting we would. It would be nice to get a win in anything. So, I think it could be really beneficial for us to develop O'Neill's system, because although we're getting into the swing of things, like I said, by the end of September it will be 6 games into the league season. It's still early days, so I think it'd be good for that. It'd be good to win, full stop, in general, and it'd be good to see if we could progress it in the League Cup or the FA Cup as well this season, because it would just be a great opportunity for us to try and get some silverware. And I don't see us, we're not at the point, or at least I hope we don't get to the point where we're not playing full strength because of the fixtures, but B, mainly because of trying to strengthen ourselves in the league so that we don't drop into a relegation fight. I think we're in that sort of, corridor of uncertainty, as they say, in which we would be able to attack these cups.
I think we will see a fair amount of rotation. We saw a lot of rotation, obviously. I know we were only playing Burnley, no disrespect, but in the last round. However, when I say rotation, our rotation now it's not all youngsters. I mean, that rotated squad that went into the Burnley game was a lot of bench. Yes, it was a lot of bench players, but the squad is arguably bigger than it was. Whatever you think of the varying quality, they're all first team squad players that were arguably all fighting for a spot to get in the team. Like Tommy Doyle, who's always on the fringes, was in that lineup. There's a lot of players there that are pushing for a spot. Yes, Will.
Santi Bueno,
of course. Yeah. So, and obviously Brighton will rotate as well. Obviously it's a squad game now. More than ever, it is a squad game. So I understand that there'll be rotation, but I think it will be a strong team that will put it out, regardless of how much rotation.
I hope so.
And I think Brighton will do the same. We know they've got a decent sized team. They're going to rotate as well. It'll just be a case really of who wants it the most, I guess, and how heavily they rotate. I think we'll have 1 or 2 key players in still, and then a fair amount of rotation built around it. But they're all people that are on the fringes. So like you say, Santi Bueno, Tommy Doyle. I think we'll see Pedro Lima again, who I really want to see more of. So Rodrigo Gomez, who I want to see more of overall. I mean, I thought he did okay against Arsenal. Second half particularly, where first half of the Premier League ever a little bit drowned out. Second half he came into it, and since then he hasn't even made the bench, if I remember rightly, because maybe one of them
not made the bench?
Wasn't on the last one. Definitely.
Yeah. Again, it's a long old season, so it will be a good opportunity for, like you said, players to like that to play. I just hope that we don't go too far with it and don't take it seriously, as you mentioned.
But the point I was getting to, he was what was it, £12 million or something, or 12 to 15 million pounds, decent summer sign. It looked good all pre-season, played a lot in pre-season. Obviously, they want to see how he was doing, but now he's not really featured at all since the opening day. And then you bring in Costa on transfer deadline day, who's basically a similar. I want to say I'm not going to say he's exactly the same, but another winger fighting for that position on either side.
Again, Chris, I don't mean to correct you again, but I am. When you said Costa, do you mean Carlos Forbes?
Carlos Forbes, yep.
Close enough. But again, yeah, it would be great opportunities for players like that, like you said, to get their chance and show what they can do. And I'm sure those two names that you've just mentioned they'll be battling it out between them. So as long as there's enough quality.
Yeah, my point was the bench is only. I know it's a lot bigger than it used to be, particularly when I was growing up. But the bench is only so big. We've now got more players for once that can actually fit on the bench, rather than just like fill it with goalkeepers.
Yes.
Sorry, Tom King. But so the point is, I would like to see more of Rodrigo Gomez, but I don't know how much he's going to get at the moment. He's obviously being weaned in. Although we saw him, I'm just confused because we saw him opening day and then he's kind of vanished.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I'd like to see more of him. I thought he didn't do that bad.
No.
But now that like you say, you've got Carlos Forbes coming in, he's got yet more competition to fight for in a spot that he didn't seem to be winning anyway.
No, well, I think that's mainly due to O'Neill still figuring out his system, to be honest with you. But it's all will be revealed.
Yeah, and I think when I said Costa for Forbes, it's just because I missed Diego Costa.
Yeah, it would be good if he was still about.
Just the character. I know he did. I know he scored like one goal, but just his character was great.
Yeah, no, I like it.
Yeah. All right, then we'll make a move. I think, Will, because you and I have to continue the dream and the grind, and as you called it, and the graft, and do lots of other things to make sure that this whole freight train keeps going. But we'll be back soon enough, and we'll be with you more and more as we look ahead to this weekend and all the many, many weeks beyond us, and pray for at least 4 points from September.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Take care, everyone.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.